Hello and welcome to the latest episode of the Good Dram Show with me, Chris Goodrum. It's a rather wet and cold Sunday afternoon, so probably a really good time to taste some peated whiskey, I think. I was thinking, what do I fancy tasting this afternoon? And as you probably know, I'm quite a big fan of Laphroaig. It's one of the few distilleries that is always consistent in the quality of its output, and I've got a lot of samples of Laphroaig. I think with probably the exception of maybe say Bamor or Coleela, I've probably tasted more Laphroaig than any other whiskey, I think. I thought, yeah, let's dig out a few random samples and let's do an episode of the show on Laphroaig. A bit of history first, I guess, as per usual. The distillery itself is currently owned by Beam Global. Has a capacity of about 3.3 million litres, so reasonable size, reasonable output. Was originally founded in 1810, but didn't start distilling until 1815, and has pretty much been in continuous production ever since, which is pretty remarkable, really, when you think about it. It's only changed hands sort of a couple of times. Apparently, one of the founders had a bizarre accident. Well, bizarre, died, falling into some hot kettle of burnt ale, apparently, in 1847, which I imagine is not a particularly pleasant way to go. And so the manager from Lagavulin took over for a short time. The only other real sort of element of note, I guess, is it did go through a few hands. Like I said, it's been owned by Whitbread, Allied, and obviously, as a lot of you know, it's Prince Charlie's favourite malt, so it has the feathers on the label. It's a great distillery. Like I said, it's always a consistent distillery. You very, very rarely come across bad bottling of Laphroaig. There's some younger ones, I guess, but which maybe don't quite have the depth. But if you look for a bottle of Laphroaig, doesn't matter who's bottled it. You're pretty much gonna get what you expect, shall we say? Or are you? This is what today's tasting is all about. So I think that's probably enough of the waffle, and I'll introduce this afternoon's lineup. Right, okay. I had a good rummage in the samples and came out with these four. The first one we will be tasting is this one, which is a bottling by AD Rattray. It was distilled in 1998, bottled in 2010, which makes it an 11-year-old, bottled at 61.6%, so quite a fair amount of alcohol. Single cask bottling, cask number 80044, and apparently sherry cask. This one, number two, as you can see, not an awful lot left now. Thankfully, Jame MacArthur sent me bigger bottles of samples, so this is a 13-year-old Laphroaig. It was distilled again in 1998, bottled 2011. Again, a cask strength bottling 56.2%, and the cask number is 700234. So interesting to see what a couple of years does to Laphroaig, shall we say. And on to the third one. The third one is bottling by Douglas Lang in the Old Malt Cask range. It was distilled in 1993, bottled in 2011. Obviously bottled at 50%, their usual bottling, and that's an 18-year-old. And finally, a distillery bottling, or a sample This is, now I'm probably going to get the pronunciation of this completely wrong, but you know, I'm not Scottish. The Cairdeas, yeah, I think I got it right. This was bottled for the Fez Isla in 2012. I believe it's a 50-50 vatting of 13 to 21-year-old spirit that's been aged in bourbon cask, with some 7-year-old spirit that had been aged in quarter casks, bottled at 51.4%. So it'll be interesting to see what how different this this particular vatting is to the single cask bottlings. So right, guess it's time to crack on then. Right, okay, let's start with the 11-year-old. Not an awful lot left in here, so I'm probably not going to have the opportunity to add a little drop of water to it, but never mind, that's the way these things go. Let's see what the nose is like. You know, is Laphroaig always going to be the same? Well, we shall now find out, shall we? God, that's rubbery. Lots and lots of tar and rubber. Really dense, quite malty. I think in my tasting notes when I wrote these up, I said more more rubber than Susan Whalen's wardrobe. So and it certainly is really, really rubbery. It's got a nice density to it. Little bit of brine, very lightly phenolic. Little bit of bog myrtle, a little bit of herbaceousness. I mean, for an 11-year-old malt, or for an 11-year-old Laphroaig, I should say, it's got some depth. It's not sort of particularly one-dimensional. It's not a peat monster. It's just really tarry and really rubbery. It's you know, it's lovely, wonderful stuff. How are they? Oh, sooty and tarry, again a bit rubbery. There is a little bit of sherry sweetness. You don't really get it on the nose. I remember when I tasted this without knowing that, I was convinced from nosing it that it was a bourbon cask, because it's obviously a really well used sherry cask. It's very soft actually. For 61%, it's actually not overly alcoholic. You could quite comfortably drink that without adding water to it. Again, it's quite dense. It's got quite a lot of rich barley, sooty peat. It's got a real sort of tarry, rubbery, treacly almost finish to it. You know, creosote, that kind of thing. Really, really nice. Really full. Yeah, so for an 11-year-old Laphroaig, it's actually got, you know, bags and bags of character. Really nice. That was an exceptionally good bottle. Right. Okay. Number 2. On to the Old Masters bottling. Nice colour. Bourbon cask, as you can see. Let's see what the nose on this is like then, shall we? This actually seems younger, surprisingly. It's quite cereally, oily. A lot crisper. It's got some lovely, slightly perfumed citrus fruit. Gentle coastal peat. Not quite so sooty or tarry as the AD Rattray. A little bit of milkiness from the oak. Certainly got some pungency. Again, slightly herbaceous, really fresh, and getting a little bit of dunnage now, a little bit of earth. but this does actually smell quite young, surprisingly young for a 13-year-old. But you know, again, it's a really nice nose. Palate. Youthful, cereal, quite a lot of alcohol actually. A very briny finish, fish, tarred rope, dry, dusty, earthy peat, a little bit of medicinal, but a lot of drying alcohol. You certainly feel that one on the edge of your cheeks, shall we say. It's nice. It's really intense. It's got some pleasant depth to it. I think adding a little drop of water is obviously going to wake it up a little bit, should we say? So let's see if that is indeed the case. A little bit more muted now, I suppose. It's kind of brought out the oils. It's a nice sort of, again, dusty peat. Getting some lovely citrus now, really citrusy, lovely orange. Quite gentle actually, not hugely peated, subtle, nice. Sweeter now, lots of barley sweetness. Like I said, the oak is a little bit milky, and you often don't tend to get a huge amount of oak character in Laphroaig. Well, this has certainly got quite a lot of it. Like I said, soft, milky, quite rounded, reasonable length. The peat has gone a little bit because it was very sort of softly peated. The peat is it's still there, nevertheless, but it's certainly not a rampaging peat monster. Good length. It's got a nice aftertaste. Yeah, I think that's really quite pleasant. Right, okay, and on to the third whisky. 18 years old, so we're expecting you know, some more maturity. Let's see if that's indeed the case. Again, less peated, more violety, herbal. Lightly phenolic, very lightly peated. As is the case with the peated malts, as they tend to get older, the peat character does tend to sort of drop off a little bit. Slightly rubbery, more fish oils. So, yeah, more fish oils than rubber, I guess. Some lovely kind of crystallised violet. Yeah, again, subtle. Mature, yeah, it's got some nice maturity. Quite rounded. It's nice. Again, a nice old or old-ish Laphroaig, yeah. Oh. Crisp, clean, white fruits, quite linear. Oh, lovely, sweet peat on the finish. A lot of that crystallised violet note, slightly Parma violet in character, you know, which I tend to find with sort of Ardbeg more often than Laphroaig, to be honest with you. Oh, that's lovely, really coastal. Feel the sort of salt just here in bottom of my tongue. Again, not a huge amount of obvious oak. I mean, the oak is definitely there, you can feel it, it's sort of sitting in the background, it's kind of giving it some structure. But that's lovely, that's really, really nice, really interesting. Don't think there's any more of that, that particular Laphroaig left. I mean, when that was bottled in yeah, 2011, so yeah, there's none of that left, unfortunately. But yeah, that's nice, nice old Laphroaig. Right, finally, the Cairdeas. Like I said, this is a vatting of spirits aged in both bourbon cask and quarter casks, so should be interesting. Let's see if it is. Quite briny, getting a lot of youthful sweet cereal. More character is actually quite similar to the Jame MacArthur bottling. So one would guess that sort of it's a large chunk of 13-year-old Laphroaig and not a huge amount of 21-year-old Laphroaig in this. It's got quite a bit of oak. Again, it's not the sort of, it's not obvious oak. It's kind of, dare I say it, more enveloping, insidious oak, taking the edge off the intensity, shall we say. Really lightly peated. There's not a huge amount of peat at all, it has to be said. I mean, I have tasted more heavily peated Laphroaigs, it has to be said. Maybe this is the quartering. I don't know. Certainly, I remember the quarter cask is quite sweet and got a lot of oak character. It's nice. I mean, the peat's there. It's very dusty. It's kind of more coal dust really than peat dust, to be honest with you. Some nice barley sweetness. Yeah, it's nice. Palate then. Lot more peat now. Really dusty and smoky, slightly fishy, a little bit of tar, a little bit of rubber. It's actually quite complex. You're certainly getting the younger sort of cereal kind of character, but sort of you can taste sort of in the middle there's this sort of core of slightly mature fruit and spirit, while you know all this sort of peated malarkey is kind of going on around the edges. Nicely coastal, good length. Yeah, that's not too bad at all. A reasonable amount of alcohol, but I think again you could sort of drink that without having to water it down, and unfortunately there's none left, so I can't add some water to see show you what it would do with a little bit of water. But yeah, that's interesting. That's really nice. Like that. That's good. Right, okay, so let's sum these up then. So, the AD Rattray 11-year-old, yeah, really good. Lovely, really rubbery, really tarry, you know, dense, relatively sweet Laphroaig. 13-year-old from Jame MacArthur. Tasted a lot younger, lots of cereal. Again, you know, another really nice bottling. The Old Malt Cask bottling, certainly showing more maturity, as you would obviously expect. Less of the peat character, but really, really violety. So you know, again, really different. And of course, the final one that we tasted, the Cairdeas, again, you know, interesting, different. Certainly the nose showed more of the younger spirit component, not the 7-year-old but the 13-year-old, in style. Certainly, you know, after having tasted the Jame MacArthur, there was a definite sort of comparison in noses, shall we say, but the palate was just absolutely wonderful. Maybe there was a little bit too much oak, maybe it was sort of like, you know, impinging a little bit, but I guess that's always sort of the danger with using sort of quarter casks. You know, you are going to get sort of like, you know, an accelerated maturation period because of the contact, the additional oak contact with the spirit. So you do kind of have to be a bit sort of careful with that, I suppose. But you know, I think by and large, you know, really interesting, certainly enjoyable, and yeah, kind of enjoyed that. But before we go, I will say I am currently still working on the latest episode, or the latest edition of the newsletter. It's in production at the moment, and when time allows, I shall carry on doing it. So the aim is to hopefully get it out, I don't know, mid-February, I guess. For those that tend to read the magazine that's the arcade in which our shop is based in, I should be writing an article actually on peat for the next edition, which I think will probably be out sort of, I don't know, I think the deadline's end of March for me to get that written, so it'll probably be out sometime in April, so it'll be the spring-summer edition of the magazine. What else? Oh yeah, the World Whisky Awards, which I was at last Thursday, which was great fun, and I'd just like to say a big thank you to Rob and the Whisky magazine for inviting me down there to do round 3. Really great day, some great whiskies tasted, some not so great whiskies. Obviously I can't say anything about that until the results have been published, and not that I know actually who's won, but I know there was 1 or 2 bottlings that were absolutely outstanding, and if they're not up for sort of like top awards, then well, anyway, so you'll probably have to wait till the next edition of the newsletter after the one I'm writing to find out my thoughts on all of those whiskies. But anyway, coming back to today, just like to say I hope you enjoyed this episode of the show, and go get your Laphroaig. Good dramming, good afternoon. Sorry?
Smile. You're on that.
Why, am I a candid camera or something?
No, but you just look miserable.
I'm not miserable. I've got my whiskey tasting face on.